Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the owner and founder of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I'm going to tell you how to spot a securely attached individual, okay? So I'm going to make this video pretty short. I can do an expanded version later, but I don't have a ton of time today, so I'm going to sort of just organize it and get you out the high-level details, the things you really need to know. So it'll be a little bit more concise. I can do, again, a more detailed version later. We're launching the Personal Development School super soon. It's like the most exciting time ever, and it's the online version. So I've been running the Personal Development School in person for quite some time, but these are all the online courses, and we've recorded them and uploaded them and have them super organized. So in the community, we're offering 2 live webinars a week. So like basically group sessions with myself, where I'll be answering all your personal questions. You get unlimited courses in the membership, workbooks, tools, strategies, everything you could need to really deeply transform. And yeah, it's going to be an exciting thing. So if you haven't already signed up, make sure you sign up below, because we're doing like a one-time launch offer for $49 a month, and then it won't stay there. That'll just be for the 10 days around the launch, so October 2nd to October 12th. So make sure you also have us like out of your promotions folder when you do sign up, because you'll get like a special code that will reserve that price for you during that 10 days. Okay. I'm getting lots of questions, so I know I keep like saying this at the beginning of my videos, but I'm like trying to make sure everybody gets the information. So, okay, so I will dive into this. So a lot of people ask me this first and foremost. How do I find a secure person? Let me tell you how a secure person comes about in the first place. And I think this can be the gold standard for sort of like what you want to get back to, what you want your reprogrammed attachment style to become like. And this is what a lot of this stuff is going to teach, is like how to reprogram your attachment style to basically return to this state. So I'll tell you what this state is and how to recognize it in others, but I'm just going to tell you first of all, like how this comes about. So in a perfect world, because children come into the world and one of their only 3 biological fears is the fear of abandonment. The other 2 are the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. So like literally we have a biological fear of abandonment. If we have a caregiver or caregivers who are emotionally not attuned to us, so they're not making us feel seen, connected, they're not present with us, there's a lot of inconsistency, things like that, then this child, this infant, gets that biological fear of abandonment triggered. And if it's triggered in a ratio for a prolonged period of time where there are more negative associations to connection, because that fear is there most of the time that we're thinking about connection, needing connection, feeling about connection. If there's a higher ratio of negative associations built into connection than positive, we can basically guarantee that we're going to have an unhealthy attachment style. So if connection felt bad because you wanted it so much, and then, the person was always taking it away from you, you felt a parent was present and then really not present, or they were present, but they were often really unpredictable, volatile. Maybe they were an addict. Maybe they were emotionally unwell, things like that. Then connection feels really scary then. And children are hyper attuned to their caregiver's emotions. We're not perceiving yet through the lens of the mind, really. We're just picking up on feelings, so sort of similarly to animals, right? We first sense feelings and we notice micro expressions, body language, and they all give us this certain sense. And I've worked with people who have been under hypnosis, and they will tell me stories about being in a crib and being a baby, and they can tell how their mom felt and their dad felt. I've seen this so many times. So like we are hyper attuned to our caregivers' feelings when we're children. And even like one of my favorite speakers and authors, Dr. Gabor Mate, talks about how the first few years of a child's life, the first 3 years, the best thing you can give to your child is your own happiness, your own stability, your own well-being. And this is because the child senses all of that and then personalizes all of it. Like the child is always picking up on everything, personalizing it, because it doesn't know how else to interpret its environment. So what we were looking for to create a secure bond is program subconscious associations where helplessness didn't feel bad. It felt safe and okay. So of course the caregiver will never be perfect, but there is a large ratio of feeling like the parent was attuned, feeling like we were connected, feeling like the caregiver was present, loved us, protected us, made us feel safe. The caregiver's emotional state was good and loving when they were around us. And so our vulnerability and helplessness, the epitome of vulnerability and helplessness that every little baby comes into the world with, felt okay. It didn't feel bad. And so trust felt safe and okay, and vulnerability felt safe and okay. And the emotional attunement felt good, and we felt like we could attune to our caregivers and it felt good and felt safe. So we're essentially learning to be emotionally available to others, because when they were emotionally available to us, or when we were around them and we were tuning in to how they were feeling, it felt good. So there was this two-way street of emotional attunement and connection that was largely positive. And so we learned that we're worthy and deserving of love and connection. We're worthy and deserving of being cared for. These are the earliest programmed associations we get and we built in. So then it's like from that point, we feel like we have a good sense of self-esteem, that, we're good, we're worthy of connection, we're lovable. And then we go take that out into the world. So in school, in meeting new little childhood friend relationships, connecting to strangers, not like in a bad way, like strangers, like new little kids in school, or, mom's friend who comes over and has lunch, or whatever it might be. So like we learn to be open and open-hearted, and that connection is good and safe. And we have this strong foundation of esteem to use, right? Now, over time, this can change. Our attachment style can change because of traumas, because of just really big repetitive experiences, because of repetition plus emotion are what reprogram the subconscious mind. So yes, things can change, but usually it's these earliest associations that basically have the biggest impact. So over time, what we learn and what we assume is that if we felt all these things in childhood, then we assume that it's safe and nice to go connect with others. And that carries right in all the way to our adult romantic relationships. These programs don't go anywhere unless they're actively being reprogrammed, or unless we have some really profound changes in our lives for whatever reason, positive or negative, that can make us secure suddenly, or over time, or can usually, the context is that we become more insecure of a certain attachment style, of one of the 3 insecure attachment styles. Okay, so secure individuals, how you'll notice them, or what you'll recognize, is that they're relatively open. They tend to have an open sort of feeling about them. They tend to be pretty present. They tend to be able to give advice and give connection and also receive it. They tend to not struggle with vulnerability. And these things might be some things you notice as you're starting to get to know somebody more. You have to sort of notice over time, but you'll see that they don't get triggered as often as a general rule. Or if they do get triggered, the emotional charge isn't usually like a 10 out of 10 very often. Yes, things can hurt any of us at any time. We're still human beings. Like a big, terrible circumstance, of course, will trigger the person 10 out of 10, but they don't really react to things that we wouldn't think are the biggest deal. They don't tend to react disproportionately from what you would imagine a normal emotional response would be like. They're often open, supportive, loving, kind, fairly generous, but not overly generous. They're not people-pleasing, so they have usually a good balance of giving and receiving. If you ask them to be vulnerable, you ask them something personal, they'll tend to share quite open-heartedly, but not overshare either, you'll see. And again, it's sort of this balance that they can give and receive. Now, something really important about secure individuals is they usually have a natural tendency of feeling okay to express their feelings and needs. And this is really an extension of when they could cry for their needs in childhood. If a caregiver came, then it's like, hey, my needs are worthy of being expressed. And so now the adult starts using words, right? Or, hey, I feel sad. If the child cries and they get that connection, oh, I can express my feelings. It's the same sort of underlying thing, right? So if I cry and I'm a baby and then my mother feeds me, she interpreted that I was hungry and she understood and was attuned to my timing and eating schedule and my patterns, and so my needs are good and my feelings are good. And so usually we see that secure individuals have a natural sort of predisposition, even though they may not always have the right words. There's usually a natural predisposition for them to be able to communicate about their feelings and needs without it feeling so scary or so vulnerable, or like it's such a big deal that they avoid and repress. And so you'll see that they're generally quite present with others. They can emotionally connect, and they tend to be quite consistent and balanced. So even like the general overall 7 areas of life, career, financial, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and relational. So relational meaning friends, family, romantic partnerships. There's usually like a healthy balance of everything. They don't tend to be like too hyper-focused in one or more area either. So those are some really good tools to recognize. And of course, it might take a little bit of time. You might not be able to like look at somebody and first glance, know their attachment style, but those are some of the general things that you'll notice in friends, family members, coworkers, new partners that you might be dating, and still trying to get to know. And that should hopefully give you a clear picture. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for staying connected. Thank you guys so much for all of your amazing comments and questions and just everything. I feel like I have this amazing community of people around me, and I'm just so grateful. And I hope you guys get to enjoy that as well.